Before the next episode of X Job Downloaded starts, I have a big favour to ask. If you've enjoyed any of our episodes so far, please can you click on the follow button on your platform. I'm on Apple, Spotify, Google, Amazon and YouTube. It costs nothing to follow, but makes a real difference to me as a podcast producer. Thank you. This interview is being tape recorded. My name is Paul Maleary and this is X Job Downloaded, and today I'm going to interview Cliff Rooms. Now Cliff is a former member of Essex Police and now lives in South Australia, and he is my first Australian contributor. How are you, mate?
I'm fine, thank you. You?
Yeah, I'm good. It's really good to see you. The time difference is a bit of a killer, isn't it? It's 5 o'clock in the evening there, isn't it?
Yeah, just gone. So it's a bit late because, I mean, you know, because you've been here before, but this country has about 3 different time zones. So it's
the half hour. It's the half hour bit I didn't get. It's only once I got to Australia that I realised that I think it's you and Darwin have a half hour time difference, which I mean just shows the size of the country.
No, but you are right. It's weird. That half hour is weird because I've never seen it ever anywhere before.
No.
It's weird.
It is weird. I was surprised. I'm sure it does happen in other countries, but yeah, it's a strange one. But where did it all begin for Cliff Rooms? Where were you born, and how did you get involved with the police?
I was born in Stanford Le Hope in Grays, and I got involved with the police because I used to play rugby. I used to play rugby at Thurrock Rugby Club and stuff like that, and I'd always had an idea that I wanted to be a policeman, I think, police officer. But at the time, you had to wait until you was 18. And I didn't know anything about cadets or anything, but my manager was a serving police officer. And he said, "Oh, you know about the cadets?" And I said, "No, I didn't really." So it goes to show how good it is having coppers doing stuff outside, because he went, "Well, it does exist here. I'll find out the details for you, and you start your journey from there. Here you go, have a go at this." And so I was working as a costing clerk at Barter's.
At the shoe place down in East Tilbury.
Yeah, I was doing that, and then I found out about this. Found out about cadets, and lucky enough I passed that because they were only took 12 at a time when we did it, and I was lucky enough to pass that. And I joined and met people like Stuart Smith and stuff like that. And some very nice people there. And that's where it started. So I was a cadet for just over a year. And then I joined proper in September 1987.
Right. Okay.
Went to Ashford, and then come out of there and got sent to Clacton.
Clacton?
Yeah.
And because we had digs then, didn't we? I mean, that was the difference. You got digs and whatever. So I didn't realise that you got sent to Clacton. I mean, that's the furthest point from Stanford Le Hope. I mean, I suppose Harwich is slightly further, but
yeah, not too much. But yeah. And the lad that was living in Clacton got sent down to Grays because that's the way they do things there. I think Stuart lived up there, so he got sent to Grays. I think that's how it was done back then, wasn't it?
Yeah,
so,
yeah, absolutely. I went from Elmstead Market to Braintree, went into digs there in 87.
Oh wow!
So how long were you down at Clacton?
I think I did 5 years in Clacton. And once again, this is the story of how I do things. Is just I kind of fall into things really because I was there, and then all of a sudden I remember sitting in a van doing public order duty because we used to stay after late. You used to stay on until 2 o'clock in the morning in a van
doing pub patrols.
Yeah, and I was. Am I allowed to say who?
Yeah, of course you say what you like. Yeah,
right. Because I was sitting there and Tim Stokes was the sergeant, and we were chatting, and I'd never heard of the support unit, like naivety, ignorance, or whatever. I'd not heard of it, and he said, "This thing exists," and I was like, "Wow, that sounds brilliant." And so, from a conversation here, that sparked my interest into getting on a support unit.
And what did the support unit do? I mean, there'll be people listening to this. What did they do at that particular time?
At that particular time, they did things like the diving was all done there. They did surveillance, they did public order, and they did firearms, all the firearms work. So apart from the ARVs, when I got up there, the ARVs were still where they were. So the ARVs, the armed response vehicle, done the initial containment of buildings and stuff like that, and a lot of vehicle stops, and everything else that was firearms related was done by the support unit.
The pre-planned stuff.
Yeah. And also we did things like house to house, or you turn up where people just want a lot of coppers, really.
Yeah.
And it was brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Yeah. I keep forgetting, people probably don't know, but it was a fantastic place, absolutely.
I mean, and that was the day when it was still in the old police headquarters, above the stable block and all around there.
Yeah.
And that was a different atmosphere, wasn't it? Going into that building, I think the printers were downstairs, and you'd walk up those stairs, and it would be like a play group in there. It was just a different culture.
Yeah, it was, and that was one of the good things. I remember my first day. I sat at the end of the table. I was on Jed Stopher's shift, and I sat at the end of the table on my first day coming in, and it was daunting because you sat there and went, these they all seem to be big men, and as you said, it was different to sitting on a shift table at Clacton. It's like, I remember some people come in and just didn't engage with you at all in the first place until they kind of look at you and go, what are you doing? Why are you here? And then after a while, you're on, and then obviously everyone warms to each other and stuff like that. But it was. But
you're talking about a time. I mean, this is 1992, there or thereabouts.
Yeah,
there would have still been people on there that were involved down when Paul Howell was shot down at Ramsey. So you've got there's a lot of old school people, the likes of Keith Bishop and so on, real old characters, and they were grumpy buggers as well. To the younger blokes like us, they were. I don't suppose they were grumpy; they just seemed it.
Yeah. And I mean, I was lucky. I was put on a shift. I had a cracking shift because I went up there and I did 6 because I was taken on as a diver. Thankfully, because I'd never done diving before, never done guns before, and I went on to Jed's shift for 6 months before I went on to Nigel Dermott's shift, which was a diving shift. And then I went and done some time on there, and then things, I don't know how, and then went back on to B shift again after a while of diving, but I kept both bits going. I was very lucky. All through my life career, I've been lucky. I was able to do both roles. I was able to do diving, I was able to keep on with the firearm stuff. So, But as I go through life, I think I'm lucky. I'm at the point I am now because of all the people that have put effort in to me beforehand. So I'm in a happy place in my life. I live 500 metres away, not like 500 metres, 300 metres away from the beach. And to get me here, I'm grateful to everyone that put a bit of effort in to me.
Yeah, but you do make your own luck as well, Cliff. It's not all about them. You're the one who's done the hard yards. The diving section has obviously gone now, but you've gone on there a couple of years after we lost the 2 lads over at Dobbs Weir.
Yeah, Dobbs Weir. I remember we were at Rye House because we used to do public order training at Rye House.
Yes, we did, yeah.
And I'm pretty sure I remember this is how it happened because that was one of the things that you fell in with love with the unit, because we were, as cadets, we were there being baddies with the support unit who were big,
roughy toughies.
Yeah, and in my memory, and this might be my memory playing tricks on me, but the day it happened, we were there doing some training, and the support unit were being baddies as always, because that was their role, and that happened, and they just went, "We're leaving." And I think there was someone of rank tried to say no, and that was, this can make them sound anti-establishment, but they went, "No, we're going," because they all wanted to go back to the unit office on it, and that's how And I also remember that no one was going to stop them.
No,
it was like you could, that chief, and I'm sure the chief constable, if he was there, wouldn't have stopped them, but they could have said, because they know you ain't, you've got to carry on with training. But in my memory, that was like, no, we're calling it training, turn in, now they're going, and that was it. They went.
Yeah, it was a sad day, and of course, as I say, the diving section's now gone, along with a number of other things that were quite important, to say the least.
Yeah.
What was that like, though? As somebody who's never been into diving, you've gone on this training course and you can't see your hand in front of you, your face, because you're down in the muds of wherever. What was that like?
Yeah, that's a pretty good description of what it was. It was, because I learned in Scotland, in Glasgow and stuff like that. But yeah, I put my hand on my heart. I wasn't ever the best diver there by any stretch of the imagination. I was never the best. But it is disorienting. As you say, you go down there and you see people diving. Like out here, they go, "Oh, we're going diving." And you go, "Okay, fine. That's a bit different to how I remember it." But yeah, it was. And it was some things that I like, silly things. I still remember at the training when I was in Glasgow, that we were buddied together. So there'd be two divers on a bit of rope, and attached between the pair of them, and you'd be under the water. And this lad I was with, the day before, he'd been with another student who was too buoyant, who kept going up. So all the rope going up, and so we'd pull him down, and I'd run out of air, and I couldn't get my reserve going, so I was going up, and he was pulling me down.
Oh my God!
I just like, and for grace of God, go high, because I managed to flick it and get it going eventually. But just for him cutting me, he thought he was helping me by keeping me down, and I'm going, "Oh yeah!" But things like that. It was different, and you make that. There's everyone in police work has stories to tell because of what they did, and so there was. I mean, that was good because we got to. I got to go to after the plane crash. We were diving in the lakes there. Obviously, we get not in that particular case, but part of it was getting the bodies out as well.
So the plane crash was the Korean air crash, which was December. I want to say December '99.
Yeah, I can't. Yeah,
I'm sure it was certainly Christmas. Whether it's 98 or 99, I certainly remember it. Yeah, I mean, it was all hands on deck. We actually went from the CID office because we were guaranteed bank holiday working. So we all went and did the scene pres up there.
It was big though, wasn't it? But you sit there and that's one of the things that not many people have gone to. When you go to plane crash, you go, "That's something else." I've been to a plane crash.
I took a camera with me, and I've still got pictures of the wheels, and because it's in Hatfield Forest or on the edge of Hatfield Forest, and I've got pictures of the wheels and the people that were there, my old mate Mick Frost, and all these great people that I worked with, and we had a ball. We had an absolute ball. That was the excitement of the job that we did. Attending a plane crash. I mean, that's a terrible thing to say, but that's how it was. Do you know what I remember about that? On Christmas Day, the chief executive of Korean Airlines had flown over to the UK and turns up in his suit, and it was a mud bath, wasn't it? It was absolutely thick mud, and he walked across there to pay his respects to his crew. It through the mud in his, in his suit, and didn't worry about one instance. It was horrendous to see, but. But that's what we remember. So how long were you on the support unit for?
Oh God, I think that time. Maybe just short of 10 years, maybe.
10 years.
Then I went from there. Then I went from there to weapons training, and then I went back again. and then I went to weapons training again. So most of my career was done either on a support unit or weapons training.
What was that like working on weapons training? Because you're still, I suppose by that time, you're one of the more senior members of the team. But what was that like?
Yeah, that was different as well, because I really, it was one of those things was, I didn't think about it, and then I didn't think I was good enough to go and do something like that, to go and teach other people. And there's probably some people going, well, I know there's some people going around going, well, he's never good enough anyway. So he's right up that bit, Cliff. But it was different. That was more of a challenge to yourself, because you sit there and go, right, I've now got to communicate what I know to other people and get it across to them. And then when all the bits, all the law and stuff, that's all got to come across. And I was very grateful because, I learned lots. And I didn't, in the first instant, because Tim said to me, Tim Johnson was the sergeant. He said, "Well, you are good enough.
Yeah,
you are good enough to do it." And I was like, "Oh, okay, fine." And I think sometimes that's all you need to hear. You just go, "All right, okay, I am good enough. I'm not." I think you turned around and said, "You're not being better than anyone else. It doesn't make you better. It means you're good enough to teach other people, to teach them, get their stuff out of their heads, to give them what they need." And I was like, "Okay, yeah, fine."
And what people don't realise, if it all goes horribly wrong, one of the things that gets tested or scrutinised is the training programme that the person involved in an incident, what sort of training they went through.
Yeah.
What weapons were you training?
Sorry, again?
What weapons were you training?
Well, at the time, I think we had Bretters, MP5, Bretters are the handgun, and then we changed over to the SIG, didn't we? So that was the handguns, the MP5s, and then they got phased out, so we used the G36s. I wasn't a sniper or anything like that. So that's not sniping. They call them snipers. I wasn't a rifle officer.
Why can't they call them snipers?
I don't think you can call snipers. Maybe you can. It makes sense.
Oh, it makes sense, but there's obviously some politically correct reason why we can't call people snipers, even if that is their job.
Yeah, maybe I'm wrong about that one, but it seems in keeping that we can't call people that. But that was really good for me. Really good, because I sat there and go, and it was nice as a personal growth sort of thing, because I'm now talking to people that are my peers. As you said earlier on, I'm still trying to tell people that have been here a long time. Not tell them. I'm sort of trying to. I'll tell you what was interesting for me. This is what was the fact that because I'd done all of my support unit life on one shift near enough, apart from being on diving shift, so one firearms shift, all my firearms work was done on one shift. I thought we all did things exactly the same.
Right.
But there's 5 different shifts up there, and everyone sees things differently, don't they? You can look at a rock. 2 people can look at a rock and tell you different things about it, can't
Yeah, absolutely.
And it hasn't got to be wrong. So that was the enlightening thing for me, was watching different shifts do it and watching the different people at the front do stuff. And I'm going, oh, well, I wouldn't have done it like that, but it's not wrong. That's right. But it's still, and it feels better for them. Yeah. So I learned stuff because I was going, oh yeah. But then also when you're doing stuff like that, you've got to do what comes naturally to a certain point, isn't it? So if I was trying, for example, I remember once we were standing. I was with Spud, and I had to describe Spud.
I know Spud, but yeah.
He looks like Roger Daltrey.
He does look like Roger Daltrey.
But he was a bit older than me. He's going back to what you're saying about the older people and the younger people. I remember standing at a doorway, so we put the door in, and Spud's talking to this person that we're going to arrest, and he's talking as Spud does. So blah, blah, blah. He's saying how he does things naturally. And I'm going, hi. And for the life of me, and I sat there and I still remember it to this day going, I'm going to try some of what Spud said. And it doesn't work.
My abiding memory of Spud was that when Victor Dark shot at officers at Abridge in about 87, 88, and Spud's walking along with a shotgun under his arm.
Oh.
Honestly, it's just because Victor Dark had done a robbery at a nightclub in Ilford, and he'd hijacked a car, police car I think it was, made his way into Abridge and shot at a PC called Paul Rowland, who left the police prematurely. And, of course, 10-9, 10-9, everyone turns up there. And then the following day, we have to go and do a line search to try and find this bloke because he's gone and hidden. You finish up on weapons training?
Yeah, I finished on weapons training. The second time. That was quite. I was lucky enough to have another go at it. Because when kids were born and stuff like that, I needed to. Like weapons training was good for me because of being there, and then I think I wanted to test, like, see if I was still relevant. So I went back and had another go at the unit, and then I realised I like to think I was relevant, so I could go back again to weapons training. So that's how it kind of happened.
What was the highlight though of being on the unit?
So again,
what were the highlights of being on the force support unit?
People, without a shadow of that. People, absolutely the people. The job, I tell my kids, you could be the richest person in the world and you still wouldn't have done some of the things that we've done.
That's very true.
As police officers, in whatever role we did, there's things that can only be, even if you was the richest person in the world, you'd probably only be pretending at it. You'd go, right, okay, and you wouldn't feel scared. I mean, there was times that I was scared, more than one, and times people have turned around. That was a big learning lesson for me. There was a huge. There's a big fight in Saffron Walden, and Saffron Walden is a place that's miles away from anywhere, and we were up there, and I remember Lucy Lane saying, I think I was acting at the time, Lucy, and the police cars were coming down. We were just putting people in the back of the police cars. They were getting shoved off to the cells and stuff like that. And another car had come along and shoved someone else in. And Lucy Lane turned around to me and said, "It's all right to be scared, Cliff." I was like, "Oh, thank you."
Was that the rave?
No, this was just another Friday or a Saturday night. No, I didn't do that one. But that's by getting on with the people, they just know you so much.
Oh,
they're
yeah.
that close that you go, right, okay, he could tell I'm scared. And many times people could say, right, he's a bit worried, or Cliff needs to do that, or we need to do that, or we need to push that person that way. And so, yeah, the two things out of it were the people that because I think also in that span that I was on there, the world was different, wasn't it?
Oh, it was a laugh, wasn't it? You no, look, I'm sure people were offended, but but you know, if there was a lot of fun to be had being in the police service in those days when we were there, and I do feel sorry for the youngsters now. And you've mentioned a couple of characters there, Tim Stokes and Spud, and it really does make you wonder where those characters are. I'm sure they're there, but I do also know that a load of our old mates retired and went back to do the job, you know, weapons or defensive skills and all that sort of stuff. And I suppose they keep on that tradition, but I do feel for them. But then there's a lot of stupid people as well, Cliff. They use WhatsApp and they send each other stupid photographs and they use words that they would never use at any other time other than in a joke and then they get caught by professional standards and guess what? They're out of a job. Yeah. Or they go on and sell police equipment. I mean, who thought that's a good idea? To sell your jackets and your head. You know, it just begs belief. If there was an extra charge of stupidity, the few people should be facing that one. But you're right about being scared, mate. We've all been scared at some point, and when you're getting the living daylights kicked out of you, if you've got people around you, everyone's scared. It's when you're on your own that's really scary.
Yeah, and that's why I was lucky because I had, you know, I could more or less say or do what I had people around me. For example, like I'm a little fat man, so I'm not everyone else was bigger than me, bigger, taller, and so you go, right, okay. It's like, yeah, okay, pick on me, but guess what's coming out of that van in a minute, and and everyone thought the same. For example, you go one night and you talk to someone, and then I remember going, all right, conversation went along the lines of, right, I'm going to go, have you got anything on you that's going to hurt me when I'm going to go in through pockets? And the lad, cockiness, it was cocky, and you could tell it was not cockiness. But, yeah, I've got a knife. So I just shouted out, knife! And all of a sudden, boom, he's on the floor, and you go, right, there you go. And you were being cocky, and so, yeah.
And our gang was always bigger than their gang.
Yeah, and it's quite, I don't know, yeah, it was. And there were times when it was scary, but I always sat there and thought, you know what, I am lucky, very lucky to have been there.
Do you know what?
That time, doing things.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think they've still got that camaraderie up there. But what I like about it is the close-knit of the community. You know, when people were lost, people had heart attacks and passed away, there's almost like a memorial in the office. Oh, yeah. And those people are still remembered today. My uncle was on the support unit in the mid-70s. He was like one of the first, after Markham set it up. I think Kev was on there about 78, something like that. And there's still that camaraderie between the different years, if you like. It's a common language. The only thing I don't like is this new watch that they've brought out, and they've changed because for me, it was the hands and the chain. Now they've nicked the Met Trojan sign, and I don't know. Anyway, that's another story. So how did we get to Australia then, Governor?
How did we? Well, I think I'd always harboured the idea that when I left the police, well, before I got married, I was going to go and live in an island somewhere on my own, but that didn't. I don't know where the inkling for Australia come out of it. But as long as I've known my wife, Alison, we've always gone, we're going to come here when we finish, when I finish. Her brother moved over to Melbourne, to Victoria, a fair few years ago. And so we'd come over every couple of years to see him and his family over here. But I think one of the big things that attracted me was, hopefully I'm not speaking out of turn to this, but like his brother-in-law had tried a business, it hadn't worked out, but there didn't seem to be as many repercussions for trying something and it not working out as there were in England. For example, my dad used to run a company, and that went downhill very quickly when we were kids. We saw both sides of it. We had a fair amount of money for a while, and then I remember one Christmas, my mum says, "Yeah, guess what? There ain't going to be much coming this year." And as kids go, "Oh, what's that?" And I ended up with this. I don't know if anyone else in the world got this, but my Christmas present that year was a Peter Powell stunt kite. And that was it. I was like, right, where's the rest of it? For years, I was like, oh, that's it. And I'm like, well, Peter Powell's a DJ. What's he got to do with stunt kites? That's something that perplexed me for years. But with the brother-in-law, that didn't seem, them repercussions didn't seem to happen. As a country, it was like, okay, you've tried this. You still live in the house that you were in. Yeah. You won't be able to, you can't try anything for whatever, but you're not going to lose your house. There didn't seem to be anything like that. So that was one of the things. And obviously the weather was another thing, but we'd always thought about it. And then, so we always wanted to go somewhere when I finished in the police where I could be less cynical. Because I'm pretty sure I turned into quite a cynical person. I wanted to do that start again thing, where I go somewhere and like no one knows me, and I'm not cynical about anyone else, but I can learn stuff again. That hasn't always gone right, but yeah, that was the main reason I think for it. And to be fair, when the kids come along, you could see the kids. We thought they would get a better life here, because there's only where we are in South Australia, our state, Great Britain fits into our state 3.5 times, and I think there's how many people live in Great Britain? 60 million.
66, yeah, thereabouts.
There's 2 or 3 million live in my state, so it's a third of the size. So we thought they'd have more opportunities, and I think as girls they probably do. And that was the thinking. When the kids come along, they'll get more opportunities over here, a better life, and they did. And that first year that we come over, my oldest was 11. She would have been 11, I think. We definitely got another year of childhood out of her,
right?
Which she might hate, but we loved implicitly because of the way things worked out with her school year and all the rest of it. And there's no doubt the kids in England are more advanced with getting older. They're getting older quicker than they do it. Like the kids here will just go down the beach or whatever. And so that might sound stereotypical, and you might disagree. It might just be my state.
No, I agree.
We definitely got another year out of Neela of her being a kid. But also, like the pair of them, we can. Like, I've got no problem with them going up the shopping. It might be wrong. I might fall foul of it one day, but I would never send my kids to. I would never let them go around Lakeside on their own, or Green or Blue or whatever. But here, they're quite happy to get on a train, go and do that, and then come home. So
how far out from your retirement? Because you retired at 48.
Yeah.
48 and 3/4. How far out of your retirement did you start the process to move into Australia?
It would have been probably 18 months, 2 years before, because we had to get the visas. The rules on the visas were such. I was thinking, I want to get it. For me, I had to get everything done by the time where I left the police, or I'd never get it done.
Right. Okay. So what were the rules because obviously you're that much older, you're not a tradie, you're not. So you're not lecturers, or anything like that. No. What were the rules if somebody was listening to this now and thinking, do you know what? I want to retire next year, or in 18 months' time, I want to go to Australia. What did you encounter during that process, and what were the rules?
The best thing to do is marry a nurse.
Is that right?
Yeah, Alison's got the visa we got was for all of us, but she had to go through the process. So I'm hanging on her shirt tails because they accepted her as a nurse and us as the family to go with her.
Right. Okay.
And we did it through. We were very lucky again because we went through a company who got our visa, and I would suggest if anyone wanted to do it, I would suggest going through a company to get it done, because it might have been a little bit of a ball ache at times, but they knew what they were doing, and they said, right, okay, you get this visa. It's one below being in fact, we were permanent residents straight away.
Oh, were you? So, okay.
Yeah, because they said, right, okay, it's going to cost you a bit more money, but you'll get the permanent resident visa, which then means you can go wherever you like, do whatever you like. You're not, because they have state-sponsored ones and job-sponsored ones and stuff like that. You won't have to do any of that, which gives itself your own problems because you have to find your own job and stuff like that. Yeah. But you can go wherever you like. It's one step down from being a citizen. So we were advised to do that, and we had the money. We had to borrow the money off my mother-in-law to do it. So we went for that one. And so I remember when it come through, because I was standing on the range at Lyd, and the rain was horizontal, and it was like, and it was freezing, and I was standing going, and I know we shouldn't, but I was going, and we had a break. And I looked at my phone. I know I'm not supposed to, because I was expecting it to happen that sort of day. And there was a message going, all right, we've got the visas. I was like, right, brilliant. Guess what? The rain doesn't exist anymore. It's quite nice.
And how far from retirement were you at that point?
That would have been probably 10 months, because we come over, because then after that, once you get it, you have a year to validate it, and we did it in a few months because it suited us. Right. Because we had a family wedding to go to, so we come over and validate. So I reckon I had that 10, 11 months before we left. Something like that.
What was your family's reaction when you said, well, guess what? I assume they knew you were going through a process, but what was that? How did they take the news?
All right. Well, my mum and dad were all right. My dad was the same as he was when I said I was going to become a policeman, to be fair, because he wanted me to take what was left of his business. And I said, no, I'm going to go be a policeman. He went, oh, I don't want you to do it, but it's your choice, off you go. So he kind of the same sort of thing then. My mum, when we left, I knew I'd not see, the only time I'd see my mum and my dad would be when we fly back to England, because she'll never get on a plane. So that's always been the case, so I knew that. And they understood why we were doing it. They understood that we wanted to do it to make the kids a better life and stuff like that, and have a better life and me be less cynical. So they understood that. Whereas my in-laws, they come over, every couple of years. So they come over and so we see them. But yeah, my brother, I found out afterwards, didn't think I was actually going to do it. Even though it was going on, he went, no, you'll bottle it at the last minute. So my sister's always wanted to live here anyway, so I think there might be a bit, she might still manage it one day, but...
it is hard though, isn't it? I mean, it is a long way, and I find it really difficult having two grandchildren in, tropical Queensland. And they're exactly 10,000 miles door to door.
Wow.
And that's just mad. I mean, thank the Lord that we've got, this type of thing, your Skypes and all the other Teams and Zoom and everything else that goes with it, because it does make the world a smaller place.
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely does. And like my wife, Alison, she communicates with her family a lot more than I do. So, but all through them things that you said, so you manage to keep it together and stuff like that through that. God knows how they did it before all these things.
Well,
God knows.
Mate, on a Sunday, we used to listen to family favourites, I think, or whatever it was, on a Sunday, and they'd say, and from Sydney, the such and such, an auntie, whatever, sends her love. And we used to sit there listening in case Aunt Dole, my mum's Aunt Dole, who'd moved to Brisbane in about 1963, in case she'd written in. That's how. And if there was a phone call, it had to be an absolute emergency where someone had passed away or what have you, and it would be whatever, £1 a minute. So nobody phoned Australia because they couldn't afford to. Now we're doing it on WhatsApp.
Yeah.
So the only thing that takes time still is air travel.
Yeah.
What did you
get? Sorry, go on.
Go on, mate.
We can get now. That's only going to get better because you can do it in one hop now from Perth. It takes a long time. I've done it once, but you can do it in one hop now, and that's only going to get better, isn't it?
Yeah, my wife did she went to Darwin because Western Australia they opened up later than everybody else after COVID, and so Qantas went into Darwin, and then she just went from Darwin to Cairns, which is a short hop by comparison. Yeah. What did you do when you got there, though, mate? What was life like when you arrived?
Well, we had another bit of luck. This is us being lucky again, the lucky roomsies. We always knew that we was only ever going to have, in our lifetime, we was only ever going to be nearly rich once. So we said to the kids, right, we're going. But we travelled over, we said, right, okay, we're going to sell the house, sell everything, blah, blah, and we left and we come over via Disneyland, Fiji and Melbourne. So we went to Disneyland for a while and we did everything at Disney, stayed there, paid a bit of extra to do this and this. So the kids loved that. Then we went to Fiji, then we come in. And we were quite lucky because family friends let us have a house right in the middle of the city of Adelaide. And we were in there for we had it for 6-7 weeks, but I don't think we stayed there that long because we found a house to live. But they were very lucky with that. We went, right, okay. So we were in Adelaide and we said, right, okay, now you've got to... We gave ourselves a certain amount of money that we could spend while our adventure lasts. So we said, right, okay, on such and such a day, the adventure ends and that's when lifetime starts. So we kind of went, right, okay, we're in the city up until it was October time, I think. Then up until then, it's an adventure, and we will go and see things and do touristy stuff and all that. But on that day, after that, we then go to work and stuff. So for that first month, we just looked for a house to buy, not to rent in the first place, but look for a house. So every day would be things like go and look for a house around certain places, and then afterwards we'd go and do a touristy thing with the kids or something like that. And then we found one in Brighton. We'd been to, I live in a place called Brighton, and we'd been here before. It's right by the seaside and stuff like that. And so we'd been here before, and we kind of thought if we could actually get a place here, this would be magnificent. But we didn't know whether we could or we couldn't. But one come up. It was a bit more than we wanted to pay for rent. But we said, no, stuff it. It's for a year. We'll sort out. We'll pay a bit more and whatever. So we rented a house in Brighton, which is where we've stayed ever since. And since then, we've just moved across the road because my daughter's friends said, we're selling our house. Do you want to rent it or buy it? And we said, oh, we'll rent it and then buy it off you. So we bought it off them.
Oh, lovely.
And so then it is, I think it's important when you come over, if you do something like this, you've got to have a day where you turn around and go, right, the adventure changes and real life starts, because there's got to be a real life time somewhere. And I took on a job as a cleaner, and Alice and my wife found a nursing job, and that was fraught with danger, because although, and if people are thinking of doing it, you need to do a bit more homework, because I come over just blasé with all the things that the police had taught me. I'd get a job straight left, right and centre, but it didn't happen that way. I applied for loads of jobs and couldn't get any of them. And I couldn't get in the police. I can't type quick enough. I couldn't, which I just sat and thought, I can't type quick enough. That's ridiculous.
Seriously?
Yeah, I just couldn't type quick enough. My typing speed's not quick enough. So, and then I went, but yeah, we tried lots of things. And my cousin runs a cleaning business, so I went and worked for him for a while, which turned out all right in the end, because although the country had said Alison could come in on her nursing qualifications, when we got here, there was no more red tape for her to jump through and stuff like this. So yeah, ended up having to do a master's so that she could do the job that she was doing in England here.
So, nobody tells you that on these TV programmes, do they?
No, they don't. No. And maybe it's just this state, because everyone does things differently. But Alison come in England, she was a nurse practitioner, and so she come here, and she started off as a healthcare assistant, and she's now back up to being a nurse practitioner. But she's had to do a master's to get there, and another qualification before a master's. So she's put a lot of effort in to get us where we are now.
How do you find the cost of living out there?
It's all right. To be fair to us, people keep one of the best pieces of advice we were given was, don't compare it to English prices, because you'll never get over it and stuff. So we don't. But I mean, a cup of coffee here is probably, if you get a large coffee, it's probably about £2.50. Petrol is less than £1 generally, because our petrol changes every 2 or 3 days, and generally £1, there'll be one, because the exchange rate is 1.9 at the moment. So our petrol at the moment is 1.6. So it does go up sometimes, but people generally get the ump, and people whoever make people back down, and it comes back down again. So, but
you need to. It's such a big country. You need to get around. So if you can't, if you feel so expensive, you're never going to go anywhere. So that's why they keep it. The one thing I found really expensive out there was booze.
Yes. Oh yeah. Yeah.
You know, all this Paul Hogan. You know, when we were kids, and all these Aussies drinking lager and VB and all that sort of stuff. Yeah. I thought it was going to be reasonably priced, but it was bloody expensive.
Oh no, you're right. It is expensive, very expensive. I don't drink that much, but I mean, we're in a wine place, so our wine's quite reasonable,
right?
But yeah, the beer is expensive, and And you don't get, when you go to Queensland, do you get Imperial pints?
I can't remember. I drink it straight from the can. Great Northern.
Yeah, Great Northern.
Great Northern. We buy the Great Northern packs because my son goes to, what's the fishing place that it's a big fishing chain in, and they get vouchers in them, and the spot prize.
Boating, camping, fishing.
That's it. BCF.
Boating, camping, fishing.
Yeah. BCF.
BCF fun. Yeah.
Go in there and get your Yeti coolers and all the other stuff that go with it. So yeah, it's but I was really shocked at and groceries. But like you say, you're not on holiday, you're living there. So the cost of living is what it is. But when you're travelling as a holiday maker, you think, how much is that piece of steak? And fish, I found that quite expensive, but the fish is fantastic.
Yeah, the food that we have here and the wine and stuff we have here is nice. It is very nice for that we have in our bit. But yeah, going on for we still shop in Aldi. So
oh dear.
You know what? So we still, as you say, we live here now. So it's like, well, I'll go shop in Aldi if I need to and stuff like that. So there ain't many of them around, but there's a few around here. So we'll shop in Aldi. And the stereotypical drinking Australian, must earn quite a lot of money because, as you say, the beer is expensive.
And what I like about Australia is that the week is for working, the weekend is for weekending. Yeah. It's for, camping, barbecuing, doing all, having that me and leisure time. I think that, and a lot of shops, I don't know whether it's the same where you are, but a lot of stores don't open on a Sunday. So, I mean, they still maintain that family ethos that we've seemed to have lost.
Yeah, and they're big on that here. And our shops have just started out, just in the last year, started opening on a Sunday at 9 o'clock in the morning. But the family thing is big because they will turn, and you look around and you go, and sometimes you sit there and go, because I speak to other poms and we go, right, okay, this, we're always at work early because that's what we've been taught for and blah, 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 blah. And then you go, but have we got it right? Because people then now turn up bang on time or a little bit late and they just go, and it seems to be like not turning up because the tides, you can go surfing, seems to be a justifiable excuse around here and stuff like getting their tradesmen, tradesmen are awful because they'll just won't bring you back or stuff like that because they're out doing exactly what you say. They're going, right, okay, I'm going down the beach, I'm going surfing or I'm going out with the family which is lovely when you look at it and go, what a nice way to live. When you're trying to get them to come and do something for you, it's annoying.
How did you find the wildlife when you got out there?
Oh, brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. I still love it. We go, because people come out, we see people like Jed Stopher comes out each year because he comes out with the tennis and stuff like that. So we see him and so we can take people up. But the kangaroos are probably, I took him up to our reservoir. There's a reservoir around the corner, so it takes me, we'll be looking at kangaroos within 10 minutes if I want to. The koalas are a bit harder to find because they're obviously up and trip, but they're great. I can find them. We've had down on my beach. It's my beach now. We have when dolphins come past, so we've sat there and the dolphins will come past, the rays. We've got a lot of rays. We have a sea lion come down the pier and pelicans. So if you're on your sort of like going surfboard, we don't say surfboard. No one uses them here because we don't get waves. We only get waves in the winter, and people will surf with their wetsuits on because it's a bit cold. But we don't get waves in the summer. So we're all on stand-up paddle boards, and you go along the rays are underneath you. So you see that. That's great. It really is good. Just
what about the sharks? What about the sharks, mate?
We've had a couple of sharks here. I think the first time a shark along, we would have been the embarrassing English family because we didn't realise what it was. So we were walking down and I just put the board on me arm. We had a board or a kayak or whatever, and I had a board, and so all four of us are walking down the beach. We'd heard this alarm and we just not realised what it was. And then we'd obviously look like stupid people because people are walking the other way and they're going, "You do realise that's a shark alarm?" And we go, "Oh yeah, we're going to go and sit on this and on the beach. We're going to sit on the board. That's what we're going to do." But they do a really good job here because we have the you would have seen them, the surf life-saving people.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like every Saturday going on from what you're saying, during the summer they have nippers here. So the beach is full of kids doing life-saving training. And Brilliant. It's packed with kids doing life-saving training and their families and stuff. They all come down and watch. But they're life-saving people here. If there's a shark out there, which happens occasionally, they will take the boat, the ribs out and just kind of shepherd it away.
Oh, wow.
So it's really quite good. They'll be above it and we have the helicopter come across it so everyone sees it and stuff like that. So it's monitored and it kind of... So
do you get great whites there?
Cool.
Do you get great white sharks there?
No. I don't think we've had them here. We had the... what was the last one we had? Bronze. We had the bronze shark come out. We haven't had a great white come past it. We did... no, we had... It's a short answer. I don't think I can remember seeing one here. But everyone knows because like Jed come over the other way and he watches it because like from the other side of the country he's got this shark thing on his app that you can watch the shark telling us. He tells us when the sharks are coming and stuff like that. So, but we don't see them that often.
But I'm talking through the perceptions of the average POM. I mean, I've been to Australia, as you know, a few times, and I went out on the Great Barrier Reef and I saw one black-tipped shark swam underneath me as I was snorkeling along. I didn't see a snake. That's not strictly true. When it poured with rain and the wind was blowing, there were a few on the street because the tarmac is red hot, and but. Yeah, it was funny.
No, we haven't seen a snake. I haven't seen a snake here, apart from in the zoo and stuff like that. So, snakes we haven't seen. I'm sure they're about, but because there's signs up saying, well, beware snakes and stuff, but I'm sure they're about, but we don't see them. But, great. It's worth, you've seen them and stuff. So, and out where you go, we go whale watching. This time of year for us to go whale watching and stuff like that, which is great. That's brilliant.
Because it's your winter now, isn't it?
Yeah. So give me another 3 or 4 weeks, it will be warming up. But it's nowhere near like because we have the seasons here. It's nowhere near an English winter. It's like today was 17 degrees. Oh. It gets dark 5:15, and it will probably rain 3 times this week, 4 times maybe.
Apart from, there's lots of things going on down there, but apart from family, what do you miss about the UK?
A proper sized bath.
Right.
We've only got a tiny one. It would be that answer of friends. It'll be the answer of I know I can still do it. So it's weird because I know that I can still ring people and go, and I still do ring people and go, how you doing? How you doing? I need, but it's the immediacy. I couldn't ring someone if I was having a problem here, as you said, time wise. I wouldn't dream of ringing someone at 3 o'clock in the morning, which is there 3 o'clock in the morning. I think that would be the connections. But then I think it would be hard, going back to what we said at the beginning, I think it would be hard, I don't know what other people find, to make them connections again that we had working with the groups of people that we worked with.
Yeah,
to find them again would be, I don't know how you'd go about it.
No, I think, we were thrown into that from the day that you joined the cadets, but the day I joined at training school, I had 30 people in my class, and I could speak to them all today as if I'd not been out of touch with them, and that is the problem with the police service, is that we have hundreds of acquaintances, but we have half a dozen real friends. And that's the take the camaraderie and all that. I get all of that, but those people that would actually come out to the M25 or whatever, the Bruce Highway or whatever you've got down there, the people that would actually come out and help you because you've broken down, you can grasp them in one hand. Mm. And what does the future look like for Cliff then? What are you going to do next week?
I'll just watch the kids get old. Just watch the kids get old and hopefully enjoy themselves. Like Neela, my oldest, is going to come. She's talking about coming back to England next year when she finishes school and having a look around. And she wants to have a look around through adult eyes, as opposed to how she remembers from the kids' eyes. So that's fine.
So how will that? Let's talk that through, because I've had this conversation with my youngest, because I've told him that at some point my grandchildren are going to realise that Nanny and Grandad are sitting there waiting with open arms, and there's a bed and there's food on the table, and as they're my grandchildren, they can probably do whatever they want. How will you feel if your daughter comes back and says, "You know what, Dad, I love you, but I'm going to go and live back in the UK"?
Fine. If both of them do it, we'll move back.
Would you?
Yeah. Both of them, whatever country the pair of them, if they end up in the same country, then we'll go. We'll go to whatever country that is. So, or if the country lets us, obviously. But the oldest has turned around and she's said she's going back. She's going to have a look, but she's not going to live there. She's going to come back here afterwards. So we'll see. But that's the future.
Absolutely.
If they both go, then like me and the missus will probably sell this house that we've got here, or do something and go and go and live in the hills and have a bigger house or whatever, because she wants llamas or alpacas or whatever and do that sort of stuff. But I'm quite happy. Just it'd be nice to come back again a few times. We've been back 2 or 3 times, I think. So we'll keep coming back, seeing people, because, as you said, like people with things like Facebook and stuff like that, people are still in contact and stuff like that. And we'll see. But
did you give up your English passport, or have you maintained that?
No, it's still English. We're just putting the paperwork in to become Australian citizens as well. So I'll keep both of them. Which is a big thing for my oldest daughter. Both daughters are like, we want to stay English. We want to stay British. And I said, well, you can, but you can also be Australian as well. And if we're here, that makes a good job for you, because
I agree.
If we become citizens here, then there's more avenues open to you. Can get jobs in government and stuff like that.
Opportunity.
So, and you're not losing.
No, absolutely. Dual nationality, certainly Australia's a great place and there's great people who live there, and they're probably closer to us. I know it's very Americanised out there now, I'll be honest with you. But they're closer in culture to us than probably any other Commonwealth country. Oh, yeah, that's the point. When the Queen died in September, I got a really strange, very mixed reactions. North Queensland is a very, it's quite rural in a lot of ways, but it was mixed reactions. The news coverage was phenomenal. I mean, it was absolutely, I can't imagine what it was like here, but, September the 8th last year, the news coverage was unbelievable and we were glued to it. But what was the reaction like where you are around the passing of the Queen, and what's the feeling about the King?
Well, I think it was much the same as you. The older people, older Australians, older Poms or whatever, that was a big thing. It was a big thing, and they were like, she was our Queen, because it's only in recent history that they've stopped singing the national anthem. I can't remember the dates, but you talk to my cousins, my older cousins here, and they were still singing the national anthem when they were at school, our national anthem, as opposed to the Australian one. So that's a new thing. But I think the older people of our age and above were not devastated, because obviously she was an old lady, but just thought it was great. Thought the ceremony was very good and all the rest of it, because we do that very well. And I know people were having, do we have bunting up? There was certainly people that were sort of as we would be. They were like, okay, it's a shame it's happened and all the rest of it. And there was always the younger people were younger people and don't care.
It wasn't relevant to them.
Yeah, and that's good point. Actually, it wasn't relevant to them. I think the King maybe has got some impressing to do on people here.
Yeah.
I think because like he's new, he's new, and all the rest of it. He's always been Prince Charles before, and everyone was interested in the Queen, and maybe not so much to him. So, but yeah, I mean, our family think it's great. I work with a disabled place down the road here, and I look after a young man, and I met his mum and dad, and they keep asking about, because they knew what I did before, and so we've had conversations about like the Queen and Princess Anne and stuff like that, and there is a lot of love for them, a lot of love. Well, there's a lot of love for the Queen. I think most people are now, and I don't know what it's like in England, but most people are probably going, well, let's see what happens next, because they're big boots to fill.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, it's interesting, you've mentioned your little ones and what have you, but didn't you have to go into the school and explain to them because they thought your little one was having them over? Yeah,
there's a couple of times I had to do it. It was like, when the Queen come to Essex a couple of times, I was doing some CP stuff around it or whatever, and so some close protection stuff. And so I tell Neela and say, right, don't say anything until after the event, and then you can mention. And so she told people, and then that happened the first time. And that teacher, Paul, felt like, well, you think Neela's telling fibs? And I'm going, no, it actually did happen. I was there, blah, 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 blah. And then the second time it happened, we was doing a firearms job at a traveller's site, and I'm poking my gun out and shouting, screaming, blah, 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 blah. And the plan was we let the dogs go, and the dogs I was standing in front of the police dog, and so he took a big bite out of my leg, and I was like, so I'm standing there trying to be frightening, but also going, and all the rest of it. And,
well, look, I'm gonna cut you free, mate. I'm really grateful for your time today.
No,
thank you for sharing your experiences. Before I go, though, is there anything you'd like to add, alter, or correct in relation to the statement that you've made this morning?
No, I just hope that it's interesting for people. And Paul, I don't know how this will come out. If anyone's thinking about coming over it, and I know other people have done it. I've been stopped at least twice since I've been here, where people have gone, I know you. And I'm like, oh, God. And both of them have been coppers. So both of them have come from Essex out to here. So I'm not the only person that's done it. And my experiences might be different to anyone else's. But if you've got my phone number, if anyone gets in contact with you and says, like, I want to have a go at it, then, send them through. I'll have a chat with them and stuff like that. Because I can only tell them about my experiences. Other people's will be different. But if it helps them, then fine.
Well, thank you very much, Cliff. Love to your family, and I hope to catch up with you soon. Yeah, next time you come over, come and visit us. I know it's No, I will, mate. We're going to do a road trip. We're going to go like Perth, Adelaide, through to Sydney and up the coast. So we will be doing that, mate.
Yeah, make it here. I'll buy you a beer. One of them really expensive beers that you keep talking about.
I'll be on holiday. I'll be buying you the beers. Take care of yourself, mate. God bless, and I'll speak to you when you're older.
Yeah, see you later. So
thanks, mate. Cheers, then. Thanks. Bye. Bye.